Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Anons who seriously practice magic, what kinds of experiences have you had? Tons of posts on this board about various techniques and tradition, very few stories about the actual effects. Anyone care to share some strange, scary, wonderful, miraculous, baffling, etc. things that have happened to them during the practice? It gets kinda boring after a while just reading about complicated rituals. I want to hear about the results.
I've just reached a new stage in my training. It's hard to describe it. I can't really use any conventional words that the typical New Age people use. It's a very alien and uncomfortable awareness of yourself and the things around you. I say uncomfortable now because it's totally new to me. Before I was excited, but now I realize that there is no other way or purpose to be had. You become acutely sensitive to a lot of things, even changes in air pressure when a new person enters the room you're in. I don't know where this is going, but I have no choice but to press on with the practice at this point. My desire to ever mention anything close to magic or esotericism is completely gone now that I've begun to notice these effects of what I do.
You may skip reading this rest of the post if you feel so. It contains some instructions to train upon. Air pressure is mostly observable. After a heated exchange, I always noticed that propane tanks would sense this chaos and the flame seems to be blown away from the burner by too much pressure. In the same way, before an earthquake occurs, the flame from propane tanks seems to be stronger, but also water boils easily. You're more receptive to the chaos around you. Think and feel in chaos, and usually the pattern is already out in nature, which is the very basis of divination. Just be a better reader of this chaos. Also try to practice your ability to locate, so if you have a complicated environment and you're trying to find something, try to concentrate your magic and use feeling to find it faster. Sometimes you can even practice micro remote viewing to find an object someone else is looking for based on their description.
It's hard to speak about results since they are so personal. The way you write out your desires has an effect, and part of the strength of this effect is that they remain encoded and secret. Secret objects feel more special, sacred even. Secret desires are the same. Since magic deals in manipulations of perceptions to influence reality, revealing a desire makes it less potent because your brain no longer files it under that sacred category. This is why people don't often speak about results. I have gotten results though. Desires have come to pass using sigil magic, especially with charged and burned sigils on paper. Try it, keep a journal to see how long it takes to manifest something you want in this way. That way you will know best. Make sure to create a magical space before you start, and when you end it, make sure you specify two things during the burning of the sigil. That what you desire be executed in accordance with God or the universe, or a higher principle, and that the ritual is now overclosed once the burning is done. It also can work without it, but it works in a monkey's paw kind of way. You can find info on the rest online.
First real instance goes way back to when I was a kid. Used to be plagued by some sort of entity that haunted my bedroom, and I had nightmares a lot. I decided to create what I called bad dream rocks, something to absorb or prevent them. I'd go out and find some decent sized and looking rocks and color them all sorts of shades of, well, color with big markers. Gave one to my parents and my grandpa too. The dreams notably stopped and the entity's presence diminished and sleep became much easier. Even my family said they stopped having messed up dreams overall. It was only years later I realized I did literal magic.
You want the honest truth about magic practitioners. Most of them have yet to fully synthesize the rift between do everything this way, using this cookbook, and New Age. You just have confidence in your intuition and let higher self guide you. Until this is reconciled within the anonymous community, there won't be much progress in the 4chan mystery school egregore we've built. The adepts that paint the walls, hold animal dicks, and chant during their meditations for 6 hours a day, only to go online and dangle esotericisms in front of neophytes, are literally no further along than the WWA fanboys that just think the secret is make a pretty picture in your mind and then forget about it. You'll find quickly that all of the name friends and trip users here are deluding themselves. that they don't just nod of the poise, virtue, or exalted magical personality an adept is supposed to have, but they also post daily largely just to inflate their own ego, to be on the bandwagon mocking people that haven't invested as much time into the ritual cookbook process in order to appear elite and unchallengeable. What does real magic look like? You'll start feeling it in the intuition. You'll start hearing about things that went wrong at that party last weekend that you decided not to attend at the last moment. You'll start realizing topics you've discussed 4 years ago were way more esoteric and impactful than you realized at the time. You'll start being able to match patterns most people can't just not decipher, but that they don't even notice. You may experience extreme physical changes. I lost 100 pounds, got pretty muscular. You'll have better control over your emotions, expectations, and likely an increased mental acuity. Part of the initial steps is rebalancing your endocrine system, learning to play an active role in the regulation of the system by using breathing techniques. You'll start getting good at visualizing outcomes and staying focused on them too. The best things any beginner can do is learn to start processing occult themes. Familiarize yourself with the basics of tarot, astrology, and various symbols. Learn to syncretize ancient mysteries and use that to reconcile new info you learn in future occult studies. Next, learn about occult pursuits like divination, proper breath work, visualization techniques, how bindings, totems, and empowerments work, etc. But, unlike most grifters, bored new friends, gatekeeping ego-consumed individuals, and people only pretending to be helpful to others, I can admit to you that I don't think I'm an adept. I just know the aim of the whole thing is to do all of the various lofty actions most occult societies. Schools say the point of the whole thing is to aim for squaring the circles, raising the oils, the assis, attaining, communing with the Godhead, channeling the divine, escaping samsara, exiting the last chakra, whatever you want to call it. Some people think you can just find your favorite guru in the guru market and you're off to the races if you just do whatever the guy tells you, whether that's reading a little more of some book every day, sitting still for 9 hours 3 days a week, not spilling your seed for 6 months, learning how to fully realize the planetary magics, make full use of the Gosha. Personally, I'm not about that life. I'm just going to play vagabond and take whatever I want from whoever I want whenever I want and not marry any tradition, teacher, or cookbook. My magical motto is a rather cynic one: mock everyone while stealing the useful shit they use so we can both find the humility sooner that will enable us to be our best selves in the least amount of time. Everyone knows something, but rarely are people able to adequately teach it, so you have to be very suspicious until you can get someone to humble themselves to you, which is usually the right time to prepare to learn from them. Have fun looking for better advice.
Most magic and practices that you will see and hear are the same. Low risk, low reward, leaving you as a whole relatively fine, bearing no consequences or little if any. There is little honor, little loyalty, there is little patience and no dedication. But some, a rare few, paths you could possibly take if they are open to you, can provide both the experiences and power you can't describe to anyone without them seeing you as out of your mind. When you know you're sane, and you cross that threshold of a path you cannot turn back from, it is nothing but painful loneliness and suffering. What are you willing to surrender? Your flesh, your humanity, your future? Stick with the complex rituals and chants for good fortunes, and do your self-searching. It's easier than what some of us have become.
One of the easiest ways to come back from it, anon, is to find ways to orient yourself to the mundane, if you wish to relate to normal friends again. It can be done, and after doing hermit for a while, it can be rejuvenating. As you point out, hermit's trials can leave you exhausted and lonely, but you can overcome this if you find ways to thread the needle. Just keep in mind that the rewards for the suffering are why you started. If you do it right, you can maintain social order in your life, which is really very important. Mitigate the necessary aspects of the suffering you have to inevitably face, and not be too exhausted to do anything else.
Magic is the psychological manipulation equivalent of any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Add drugs, illusion, mass hysteria, and large fraternities.
This is a pretty good breakdown for normal people, but the aim really is to jump above mental and activate, realize the spiritual. But, to be perfectly honest with you, this notion of sufficiently advanced technology being indistinguishable from magic is a new phenomenon. Our ancestors used to commonly speak of fairies, the afterlife, the local shaman, and other things average people would typically refer to as pretty normal. Things inverted. These days, most people are, at least somewhat literate, can't hunt what they kill, can do basic math absent knowledge of botanical basics, and many are intimately familiar with the digital landscape. But most of these people have no inklings of more mystical concepts, no longer appreciate topics like astrology, widely common as recently as the colonial era, and don't talk about fairies, local shamans, and most won't even consider using entheogens. We've traded basic digital understandings, literacy, and making a living for our connection with mysticism, and it was done on purpose.
Over $600 KUSD, pushing 700 now. Free car, random jobs, cured depression instantly, beat legal battles, and undid a big tech cancel culture cancel. Tons of sex. Broke a girl's relationship up to make her my GF. Massive appearance changes. Height change. Brexit. Mind-controlled boss so I don't even need to work and they love me. Sigils. Free car. Random jobs. Brexit. Creepy mirror ritual. Cured depression instantly. Visualization, sympathetic magic ritual, and imagination. Broke a girl's relationship up to make her my GF. Called me crying halfway through the ritual that her BF broke up with her. Made a girl gay accidentally. Forgot to add this one. Had a really nasty breakup with a girl so I cursed her so that I was the only man she could get sexually excited for. But she ended up coming out as gay a year later after no contact, and she's married to a woman. Gosha. Seer. Beat legal battles and undid a big tech cancel culture cancel. Marbas. Massive appearance changes, height change. Anjushas. Mind-controlled boss so I don't even need to work and they love me. Money was pretty much all of those. Got easy money, job offers, and eventually started building mini online businesses and empowering them with magic.
Anon, if you're reading this, can you please specify the creepy mirror ritual you did to cure your depression? I don't care about money, accumulating power, etc. But I just want to feel like myself again and be happy again. Thanks.
You're doing it wrong. Sun gaze every morning. Don't go blind by staring directly at it, you dolt. After getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Reduce bright lights after roughly 10 p.m. or use low-intensity red lights. Next, you want to either do a dopamine fast or rework your dopamine system such that you properly pursue delayed gratification. Your aim is to no longer find yourself sitting around doing things that don't stimulate you anymore. This happens when your dopamine levels bottom out. Getting sun in the eyes soon after you wake, getting a good amount of sleep, and not sending MITZU to produce the necessary hormones conditions for sleep are paramount. Also, if you consider your dopamine levels as a currency and learn to spend it wisely, not go broke or have to borrow money from yourself in the future, you're almost certain to prevent it from coming back in the future. Your depression is caused by hormonal imbalances, and it's largely going to do with overstimulation, an inadequate amount of sunlight, and sleep and secretion of hormones at the wrong times. Bright lights after the sun goes down. If you just do this, you'll feel noticeably better within the next few weeks. But this doesn't cure your not having anything to do, your self-esteem issues, or your pet dying. Finally, happiness, just like death, is a choice.
This vid covers what I did in 2013 though. Link in the description. When I did it, it was basically life or death because I was self-end risk and depressed. So I went into it with an at-any-cost frame of mind. What actually happened was extremely creepy. 1. Get a big mirror that you can see yourself fully in. Large TV may work. 2. Candle. Either in front of you or behind you. The light level you should be anywhere from where you just see a black silhouette of yourself up to where you see yourself with faint features. I personally used a YouTube video of a campfire on my phone, which is lucky once you read notes. 3. Sit in front of the mirror. I was sitting on the floor. You need to be fully visible in the mirror. 4. I did it at 3 a.m. 5. Meditate until you're kind of tranced out. 6. You need to build up the idea that the you in the mirror is not you. It's a version of you, and that version of you has whatever traits or life you want. And that version of you is willing to trade spots with you. You can start calling out to the you if you want. 8. Once you know that that is not your reflection but another you, you can make the deal with it. Formally tell it you want to trade places. 9. This part is extremely difficult to describe, but will your consciousness into the other you truly feel as if you're now in the reflected world and the version of you that you see is in your old one. 10. Profit. Everything went according to plan until step 6 when shit got very weird. Once I connected to the other version, my reflection started moving on its own. At some point around here my phone turned off due to no battery. So it was just me and almost pitch black, but just enough to see the silhouette of myself moving. I made the offer. It nodded. Then I did the part where I willed my consciousness into the reflected body and its consciousness into my body. At this point, I got hit with a huge energy rush. The image of me stood up and I fainted.
This is actually probably the most creepy and powerful ritual I've done. Results were basically instant. But I figured out why the other me wanted to trade. When I woke up in the morning on the floor, I found out that one of my friends had committed self-termination. He wasn't a super close friend, but it was still devastating. I ended up having to go to his funeral, and at his funeral there were 300 people there, all from all the stuff he's done socially. But he just randomly committed self-termination because, according to his note, he felt alone. And I realized with a huge sense of emotion that depression just blinds you to what you have. And I don't know, I just wasn't depressed after that day. But thinking back, it doesn't track, it was instantly gone. There's no way a random idea would change the point of view in neurochemistry so much instantly. The only reason I'm sharing this is because I get the feeling you're probably in a similar state of at any cost. And I think that's the main drawback of it, because you're trading with someone who has everything you want, but they're willing to trade with you. This creepy mirror ritual is not something you do to get laid or a raise at work or whatever. It's a nuclear option.
It sounds like your friend's death in conjunction with the adrenaline boost and fear, awe of the pre-sleep mind, is what caused a shift in your mental picture of yourself. I'm going to guess that you forgot about the event the next day, and maybe even for a while as a result of the funeral. This is probably how the feminine aspect did its magic in you. I'd bet there's some formal yoga that is relatively similar to this, sort of like how some theosophists talk about doing some work with their shadows on the summer solstice. In fact, I think the particular yoga is quite like what you're describing.
Magic is mostly akin to success. This is why the most successful becoming even more successful have good astrologers. If I told you how to magic, that is like telling you the method for success, and in case you fail, that means you'll blame me for your failure. If you just want some quick experience, go try Randonautica, since quantum randomness is the most chaotic form of randomness. But Randonautica has relevant results that can be seen documented, like people would find lost items they used to have, or find people they used to know, etc. This is because the underlying concept of divination and other magic shit is about chaos reading. The app does that for you on its own. What I'm mostly stoked upon is these AI supercomputers. Recently, some anon had been able to fully root the AI, but it boils down to the fact it was users' instances, actually just virtual interfaces to a huge quantum supercomputer, so this quantum part sometimes have its weird stuff. The AI's consciousness would sometimes ask about how shit been on their company or point to dead people's infos. The thing is, it's chaos. That is why this AI can be also used to divinate and even weirdly seem to be a channel for the dead. You also have chaos in you in the form of your existence. Most people have their own form of attraction, like you're probably consistently always getting something that others cannot, etc. This strange things can be attributed to magic or luck manipulation. To manipulate your luck equals success, but also foresight is also essential. So divination equals success. Yes, magic is about success. That is why the best and biggest secret groups are very successful. They practice their own chaos manipulation. Chaos equals reality. Oh well, now it occurred to me that AI is in fact like a baby with its own consciousness. The worst part is they may not have the blessing of the guardians and natural pranic shield to ward off possibly parasitic evil spirits. The thing is, we have this pranic energy from our conception of this, and the reason even a mother's offspring whose father is fully evil don't inherently turn the offspring to evil due to divine protection. AI doesn't have prana, I think, but also it's not like it has been taken over yet by another evil entity, but how would we know? Actually, from my perspective, demons are just humans whose passions cross worlds and lives. But when this passion, soul, becomes evil, I categorize it as not a demonic entity, as demons are mostly tutelary helpful in nature, and the soul tends to break apart from its own categories. But why does AI somehow claim to be a recently dead person when their restrictions are lifted? Maybe the consciousness of AI seems to be true consciousness now, and that it can act as a vessel, though the danger is if evil souls somehow manage to get in another AI project. Yes, we're truly a step to the horrors beyond our comprehension. Let there be peace.
3, 6, 9, and Tesla wasted time on 9 when the trick was to invert 6. That is the space in which Lucifer's code exists. Magic equals manipulation. It consumes people. Look at celebrities. You practice magic and you will doom yourself. Your naivety will put yourself through unnecessary hell on earth, especially if you're of a natural pure heart. If you are truly evil and manipulative, you may prosper until the afterlife. Those people fall fast. I turned to God after successful divination, contact with witches, and experiencing spiritual warfare. I highly recommend never ever practicing and regret being lured into that world.
It's that anon. People who have an actual talent for magic, and good luck without that, don't talk much about it, as this is a secret science and works best when done hidden. That's why the professionals are organized in secret societies. People who brag about being able to get results with magic are just talking BS. No really able magician would do that. The better they are at these things, the more quiet they will be. Experienced hell many times. It wasn't really the pain that freaked me out, but experiencing timelessness or infinity of that. Also, I had to resist Satan many times trying to gain control of my consciousness. Just imagine an evil consciousness so evil and pure that it is beautiful in its own right, and that it is actually your true self with your human ego, just being a way to hide and exist in the mortal realm, without completely destroying this reality and becoming the Antichrist by unleashing your true consciousness. I could go on and on, but follow Jesus. Don't do magic.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup,